All right, this is one of the more polarizing ones. Oh, this one's taking a little bit of work and a little bit of... this is going to be one that you guys don't agree on. This is going to be one where it's going to be torn down the fan base, because if you've noticed in your mock drafts, if you've noticed with our content creators, if you've noticed with our local media, they are all saying two different things. Trenches only, best player available, or it's got to be left tackle first. There's this narrative around Braxton Jones that has honestly annoyed the hell out of me. It's been like the most frustrating. It's been the most frustrating thing about being a fan of this fan base, of this team. Braxton Jones has not been a bad left tackle. He's on a rookie contract. I don't know how else to spell that out. He's a good left tackle. Is he a Pro Bowler? Is he going to be the left tackle that is this team's left tackle for the next 15 years? No. I don't agree with that. I think he would be an amazing starter on a fringe playoff team. And that's where we are in this rebuild. Sometimes we act too much like we are Super Bowl contenders today. We have so many things to fix on this team, from nose tackle to defensive end to future safeties and future left tackles, but we have 6 interior guys. 6 that need to be filled. We have needs on this team that are not met. And when Braxton is playing as a top 20 tackle in this league, a top 14 left tackle, there's 32 of them. He's 14th. It's just not a dire need to have to replace this year. Now, take a step back now that I've pissed half of you off. We're picking 10th overall in an offensive tackle class that is weaker than many years before and many years to come. There's really only one option that's a true starter day one left tackle. That's Kelvin Banks. Campbell is not a day one he's a great guard. He would be a great guard in the league. He's not a great left tackle, not a shutdown, lockdown left tackle. Now, the thing I'm bothered with is a lot of this fan base believe that just because Kelvin Banks is the best one, that he's automatically Joe Alt. There's not a Joe Alt in this draft, period. There isn't one. He's more like Peter Skoronski than he is Joe Alt. You're not going to have someone step in. Any of the 40 tackles that are available in this draft, they're not going to step in and play better than Braxton Jones in year one. So if you're wanting an immediate upgrade, that's not going to happen by drafting someone and replacing Braxton Jones. And Braxton Jones is on a rookie contract. It's just not going to happen. You can take your narrative of the bull rush and blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Last 4 games he played, he allowed 3 pressures. That led the entire National Football League of all tackles. Number 1 in the entire league. He only allowed 3 out of 140 opportunities. He's not bad. He's also not top of the league because that is a small sample size. The rest of the season, he allowed 26, 25 overall, which is very average. But he's on a rookie contract, and we have so many other needs. This isn't a priority that we have to fill. Now, again, I've pissed half of you off. I understand that. Not here to do that. We may never pick in the top 10 again. And if Kelvin Banks is there at 10, we might have to pick him, start him at guard this year, and he would be one of the best guards in the league year one, in my opinion. Right next to Braxton, I think the two of them would elevate each other. Is that the path we want to go? With the defensive end class in this year's class, you're going to have 5 to 7 edges that will truly impact their teams year one. They will be gone by number 39 overall. A lot of people think because your mock draft database tells you Princely Umanmielen will be there at 39, that he'll be there at 39. Princely Umanmielen will not be there at 39. He is a first-round pick. On my big board, he's top 15. I promise you by the time the draft rolls around, he will be a first-round pick, and he will be going to somebody in the top 15, top 20 of this draft. I dare say top 10. He really could. He's that good. If you haven't seen my other videos, go check them out. I've done several so far on center, interior offensive line guard, defensive end, defensive tackle, safety, running back. I'm running through all the positions, and I am going to, for the first time, give my big board this year 1 through 300 of how I think players rank. It's a big task. It's a lot to undertake. I'm literally doing this for hours a day. I'm probably going to start a membership on this channel for the first time ever. Never done that. Appreciate the support all of you guys are giving. This has been a fun channel to run, and it's fun to have this fan base be a part of it. So here's where our offensive line sits as we head into the offseason. Many of you have seen this who are part of the channel. We only have 4 players under contract. One of those players needs to be cut. I am firmly under the belief that he should not be coming back this next year. I realize there's not a lot of options, but Ryan Bates is not even backup caliber. We have other options we can do at guard. Do I think Ryan Poles will cut Ryan Bates? No, I do not. It's the downfall of keeping Ryan Poles. I think it's one of his big weaknesses, and he's going to cost us $4 million on a backup guard that can't play guard or center because he should be medically retired. It is what it is. I believe we're keeping Ryan Bates, although I don't think we should keep Ryan Bates. Now, keep in mind, we do have Bill Murray as well that is a earnings-restricted free agent. We're eligible to sign him at the league minimum, which will be $1.030 million. Okay, $1,030,000. Don't know why that's so hard to say, but I said it. We've also signed to our practice squad or future reserve contracts Theo Benedict, Chris Glazer, and Ricky Stromberg. Those should not be dependent on for starters or backups, any of them. So we need a backup swing tackle or right tackle. We need a better left tackle option to develop behind Braxton Jones. Kiran Amagaji has shown that he has ability from college, but this last year was ugly. But we knew it was developmental. So are we being too hard on him? Does he need the offseason? Yes, but I don't think you put all your eggs in one basket for a backup swing tackle. I think we need to draft or sign another one 100%. This video, those who haven't been watching them, we'll go over all the options in the draft, in free agency, where we go from here at the tackle position in today's video. Other videos, go back and look at them, guard, center. We will refine these. I'll do everything over again as we get close to the draft after free agency has hit. We'll do this again after the combine where things are getting clear as we head into the draft. But as of right now, we need a starting center, a backup center, a starting guard, a left guard, and a backup left guard as well. We need a lot of options. Yes, Tevin Jenkins could be re-signed. Coleman Shelton could be re-signed. Matt Pryor could be re-signed as a backup if we're willing to get rid of Ryan Bates. We'll see what happens there. All right, as always, I show last year's slide from last year's video. I've refined it so it's not so confusing looking. This stuff looks confusing. I get that. These are the PFF pass grade, run grade. I don't base everything off PFF. I know a lot of people just say, oh, well, this doesn't fit my narrative, so I can't listen to PFF. They have a decent grading system. You combine that with film, and you've got a good analysis for what you need to take. I do take the stats on this channel, Adam Statson, whatever you want to call it. I take the stats, I analyze it with film, I break it down. That's what we give you guys. So Braxton Jones, a little undersized, 6'5", 310. Could use some more base, could use some more muscle. Maybe that's why he is where he is. But last year he was 35th ranked tackle in the league. Darnell Wright as a rookie was 54th. Larry Bourne was 76 out of 83. I said we needed to leave him behind. We needed to cut him, get rid of him. He needed to be gone. They didn't listen to me, so we had the struggles we had this last year with Larry Bourne having 22 pressures on only 237 pass blocking opportunities. The most sacks on the team, 7 in only 237 pass blocking opportunities. Once again, he was terrible. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. So, but if you look down here, our best pass blocking grade on the team was Braxton Jones, but the best run blocking grade on the team was Darnell Wright. Both of them have their perks. They both had a good year overall. I do think there's way more upside for Darnell Wright than there is for Braxton Jones, 100%. Braxton Jones was ranked 18th out of 87 tackles in the league. Obviously, very starter quality. You're talking about both sides of the ball. And Darnell Wright was ranked 16th. Your left tackles are typically grading higher, but there were only, this is a post that I created on Twitter for those who had not seen it, right tackles that graded out higher than Darnell Wright in 2024, Zach Tom, Penei Sewell, Lane Johnson, Brian O'Neill. Man, notice something about our division, and that is it. In year 2, he was the 5th highest graded right tackle in the NFL. Stop with the narrative that Poles missed on Jalen Carter. He nailed it with Darnell Wright. So the other half of that, right behind him was Braxton Jones. As you see the grades here, overall, Darnell Wright 79.3, Braxton Jones 77.4. I tell you guys on here, starter quality should be above 70. 65 is acceptable if they're working towards getting better. These guys are close to the 80 range. Darnell Wright at 79.3 is absolutely solid. Obviously, as I showed here, 5th best right tackle in the league. And Braxton Jones, 14th best overall left tackle in the league. 13th or 14th, depending on how many you exclude for 20% of snaps. That's neither here nor there. Larry Borum, 73rd out of 87 tackles with all the snaps he took, and that's trash once again. So he needs to be off the team. He's a free agent now, so we do have an opportunity to get rid of him. If there's any way that Ryan Poles brings Larry Borum back onto this team, I will immediately be calling for Ryan Poles' dismissal from this team. That would be the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Those who didn't watch Larry Borum this year, he's clueless. He has no idea what's going on in schemes. It doesn't matter who his offensive line coach is. It wouldn't fix the fact that he can't read a defense. He can't pick up a block. He can't handle a block. He gets put on his back. He gets pressure against him every time. He's just terrible. He's just absolutely terrible. I suggested maybe we bring him into guard last year. Even that wouldn't have helped because Matt Pryor played very well as a backup guard. So I'm glad we didn't, but Larry Borum should not have ever been taking snaps. 329 snaps overall on this team was way too many this year after he had 411 last year and did the same despicable thing. All right, so let's look at this free agent class. And this is something I want to point out because a lot of people in free agency are calling for Alaric Jackson or Tyron Smith or Ronnie Stanley, Trent Brown, Morgan Moses, or Cam Robinson. It's a thing with our fan base. We are not happy with something going well. Braxton Jones is on a rookie contract. He's costing us less than $2 million a year next year. Less than $2 million. His injury will be healed before training camp ever begins. It's about 4 months from right now that he's predicted to be on track to be able to be healed. Surgery is over with, and he's healing. There's no reason to believe he can't get back and be healthy. Other people are calling for us to sign Alaric Jackson for $15 to $20 million a year. Make that make sense to me when we have a tackle in Braxton Jones that outplayed Alaric Jackson in every sense. In every sense, he outplayed him. It doesn't make sense to me. That's the answer. I don't understand it. People want Ronnie Stanley. They say he'll be better. His run blocking ability is absolutely terrible. And for a team that's trying to rebuild its identity and get the run game going makes no sense. In fact, look at all these guys in the middle here who would be a terrible fit. This is run blocking right here. Let me make this littler so I can kind of point exactly where we're going. Run blocking. Ronnie Stanley, terrible grade. Morgan Moses, terrible grade. Cam Robinson, terrible grade. Let's forget about Larry Borum. He's going to be gone anyways. There's Trent Brown. There's Tyron Smith. But you got Braxton Jones here, and he's an excellent pass blocking. It doesn't make sense. Anyways, there's free agency. I do not believe this is the way we go this year because you've got two starters for next year already, Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones. One name that I am constantly floating out is Trent Brown because he had a patellar tendon tear. He's getting older. He's going to be 32 this next year 32 this next year. He's 31 right now, but he went through that injury. He's going to be on the mends. He's probably not going to be a starter somewhere, so this is the perfect opportunity for him to come in and back up somewhere to rebuild and to be able to have a chance going forward. He's hitting the twilight of his career. He's been a very solid right tackle for his entire career, though. So with Cincinnati this last year, he signed a one-year deal. It was a 1 year, $2 million deal. Was it two? Yeah. No, $4 million deal. Sorry, $4.4 million deal overall with a lot of incentives and kicks in there. It's projected he'll be somewhere around a $6 million deal. I think the Bears can sign him for a 1 year, $5 million deal, $5.5 million deal to back up Darnell Wright. And with his experience, that's a good thing to bring a vet in here and to help some of these young guys because we're going to have Karan Amagaji. Yes, Braxton Jones is technically becoming a vet, but he's still on a rookie contract. Darnell Wright is still a rookie. They can learn things from guys like Trent Brown. So that's kind of my avenue, the path I would like to take. Bring Trent Brown as a solid backup option, and I think that's the way to go in free agency. Remember, we have a lot of slots to fill on this roster as we hit free agency and as we hit the draft. We've got, even if we take a tackle here, there's still an opportunity to take a tackle to develop with Karan Amagaji, and then still all this middle we need to fill. So there's a lot of work to do on the offensive line. All right, let's hit into the future. So here's last year's draft. Here's how we analyzed it and broke it down. And to me, Joe Alt was a top 5 pick in this last year's draft. Obviously a generational, we use that term generational tackle. He was the best tackle worth taking. I was not hot on Aldo Fushano as at all. A lot of people were because of his work with Caleb in the past, being his high school teammate. I did like Patrick Paul. I love Dominic Pooney. And Dominic Pooney has really paid off for the Niners. If you haven't watched my guard video, They moved him into guard, and he's played very, very well. In fact, a lot of these guys, you look at the sides of these guys in the last draft, Joe Alt was really the only stellar one. Talise Fuaga at right tackle was a good option there. But some of these guys a little bit undersized. But these are the top ones. I'm going to highlight a few more in this year's draft. But here's where these top guys from last year ended up ranking out this last year. Joe Alt, no surprise, he ended up being number one. One of the highest rated tackles in the league this last year. His pass blocking 78.1, offensive grade overall 675.9. They've ended up using him at right tackle as well, and he did grade right behind Darnell Wright as a rookie. So he was the 6th rated overall right tackle. So very solid. Roger Rosengarten graded out very well as well. Talise Fuaga did fine. DJ Glaze, and some of these guys take a couple years. Matt Conclave's kind of surprised everyone for Indianapolis. Has turned into a starter for them. We'll see if he continues to develop a little bit of weakness on his pass blocking, but overall did very well for them as well. The one player I thought was worth going after last year in free agency to replace Larry Borum as the swing tackle was Jermaine Eliminour. He ended up getting way more than I suggested. This happens with the tackle position. They end up getting way more, which is why I don't love the idea of going out in free agency when we have someone on a rookie contract who's so solid, who graded out as the 14th best left tackle this last year. Jermaine Eliminour actually ended up worse than the year before. He was 36th last year. 2 years ago. This last year ended up ranked 55th overall, and his grades all went down as he joined the Giants. So part of the cultural thing there. But I said he should be worth 2 years, $3.75 per year, $7.5 million on a contract. He ended up getting $7 million a year. I felt like they overpaid him, and it appears that way as well. But he started for them, and he did not start at the highest caliber level. So glad we didn't end up doing that, but he would have been a better option than Larry Borum at swing tackle. So, it would have paid off. We had so much cap space last year, and it kind of just disappeared. Kind of went away, and a lot of that went to Keenan Allen, but a lot of that didn't go very far. So we could have afforded this, and it would have been a better option than Larry Borum. And honestly, looking back, that might have been the right decision to do. But we have a big opportunity this year now that we can fill in some of those gaps too. All right, here's the meat and potatoes, the part you guys love. And I added way too many guys to this list, but I'm going to explain why. And this will explain the draft to you guys to help you understand where I stand with my position on the draft. If the Bears end up with Kelvin Banks there at 10, I will not be upset, okay? There may not be an opportunity to take one of the top tackles next year, even though to me, Kelvin Banks is normally going to be around 15 to 20 in a normal draft. Okay, he's a very good tackle. He's not worth taking top 10, but where will the Bears be picking next year in an elite left tackle draft? Just to give you an example, this is next year's top of the draft. These are the top 3 guys right now, and there's always going to be some guys that come out as well. These guys right now are predicted to be 2nd overall pick, 3rd overall pick, 8th overall pick in next year's draft. Francis Malaga, Caden Proctor, Caleb Lomu, all these guys should be day one starting, solid, generational. Don't say generational. I hate that term now. Kind of got burnt by that term in last year's draft. But these guys should all be extremely solid tackles, but they're all going to go top 10. Will the Bears be picking top 10? They shouldn't be. Probably not. With a new coach and this team improving, there's no way we should continue to regress year after year. Not with Caleb under center, not with the team improving in every positional need. We shouldn't. So that's the dilemma here, is do we need to take that left tackle this year? Well, you shouldn't with Braxton Jones there, but do you take Kelvin Banks and play him at guard this year and you just let the best 5 guys play? That's the dilemma. The other part of that is, like I said before, you've got 5 to 7 defensive ends that are going to be immediate impact. This is what this draft is known for, is the defensive ends. We've been talking about that for over a year. Since before last year's draft, we were talking about this defensive end class. How do you pass up on it at 10 if Abdul Carter falls there? You don't. That's like getting Micah Parsons. That is day one impact guy. How do you pass up on James Pierce or Princely Umanmielen or Walter Nolan at nose tackle or Mikael Williams at defensive line? I mean, Walter Nolan. Guys, it's just that's what's hard. And that was part of the haul too, is trading someone to get a second first rounder this year. Oh, what could have been? I'm not bashing on Caleb. I'm really glad we have Caleb, guys. I am. But what could have been for this team? And this is part of where I go on my rant. But there are some good quality tackles in this draft. Now let me break down that for you, though. So at the top of this draft, there's really 4 guys that I would consider that the Bears could go after. And I really don't like the prospect of Will Campbell because I do view him as a guard. His arms are too short. He's a Peter Skoronski situation as well, and his run blocking grade is not good. He does not pull well, and he doesn't get to his block quickly and efficiently on time. See, his run block grade is down at 67.1. So I understand he has the physical tools and attributes, and he's done very well for LSU. They've turned around their entire program, and he's been a part of that for all these couple years. I mean, he's there through everything with Jaden Daniels and through the. I mean, he's been a big part of that. I get it. But I don't give him credit going to the NFL that he's going to be an immediate success just because of that success in college. What I'm seeing on tape is not something that translates to me that I would take him in the top 10. I would not take Will Campbell in the top 20. That is my position. Everyone's going to have their different position. You're going to see all these draft boards, all these mock drafts different. I would take Kelvin Banks as a fringe top 10 guy. Like I said before, he's a little bit shorter, 6'4". I don't hate it, though, with the way he plays. His play style is mean. His one big downfall, you look over here on the red, he takes too many penalties. He's responsible for way too many, but look at all the blue across there, too. His pass blocking grade, run blocking grade, overall grade, his sack hit hurry. This is my stat. Just for you, though, who are new to my channel, this is how many plays between getting a pressure, of any kind of pressure, a sack, hit, or a hurry. So once every 56 plays. And in college, that number is going to come down into the NFL. Your NFL guys, your tackles in the NFL should be somewhere around 30 and above to be really good tackles. In college, you need it to be around 40 to 50 and above to be good. And if you're down in the 20s, it's not going to translate well to the NFL, in my opinion. Okay? So Will Campbell down there at 30 is not a good starting point for me. I'm just not seeing it on tape, on the stats. When I compare it all together, Will Campbell to me is not a day one starter. Moving him to guard, he'd probably do very well. He probably would. And so I can see the appeal there, but I'm not taking that in the top 20 for me. Josh Simmons with his injury, another really good player, but the same problem with run blocking. He doesn't have the same quickness to be able to get out there, but he's a very good pass blocking tackle, and he's built for the NFL as well. Ariante Ursery, right in the middle of everything. I think he's just right perfectly there. To me, he's a fringe first-round guy. I have him going right at the beginning of the second round. You'll see when I bring my big board out. But I do like Ariante Ursery. If he fell to 39, I would be extremely happy with the Bears taking him at 39. Say we took Walter Nolan or Princely Uman-Mielen or James Pierce or Abdul Carter or Mason Graham right there at 9 or at 10, and then Ariante Ursery fell to us at 39, I would take him. I would. Wyatt Millam, same thing, more for a guard, though. But this is where you're going to take your guards, is in the second round. And that's something I want to point out here is, as they have their rankings over here, once you get to this line, I kind of move the rankings out of order for some of the guys that I like the most at the top. And I'll get to that. But right here, 1, 2, 3 round guys, these top 3 round guys, there's really a bunch of guys that are not going to be your tackles. These are going to be your guards. So some of these guys I involved in the other video for guards, but Wyatt Millam, Jonah Savania from Arizona, these guys translate to me as guards at the next level. Marcus Embo, some people even think he'll be, I mean, look at these size on these guys, 300, 305 pounds, 300 pounds. These 3 guys here could all play center. And there's many that think they will. And if that's the case, we've got a few more options at center. So I like that too. You're going to have your primary guys with Jared Wilson and Jake Majors and Seth McLaughlin. And if you add these 3 guys and you really go through the combine and you go through the interview process and you feel like these guys will translate well, like Graham Barton last year, he translated to center from Duke. They moved him to center. But if you're doing that with Marcus Embo and Gray Zabel and Charles Grant, small school, these last 2 guys, very small school. So these numbers might be a little bit skewed, in my opinion, not quite as valuable as if they were playing guys like Kelvin Banks and Will Campbell were playing. So you've got to take that into consideration with some of this blue and red as well. Very small schools here with Charles Grant and Gray Zabel. These guys, I see them more as moving in, but they could play center. So there's some options. But if you look at that, and then you look at the tackle position, Josh Connerly Jr., very solid there. I can see us taking him later on with 39, or if we're really going to take a tackle this year. Cam Williams is a right tackle. Josh Simmons can play both left tackle and right tackle, and I wasn't super impressed with Cam Simmons, and his penalty rate is off the chart as well, and his pressure rate is not good either. I probably should have put him in red there too. It's below 30, but I think 25 is where I created my line for the red there. But so you really got a couple guys here, and I don't like us using the top of the draft for the tackle when we have Braxton Jones at the tackle position on a rookie contract, and we have next year that we can fill that need. I get it if we do, though. Like, this is one of those things where I do not know what the GM's going to do this year, but I don't love the idea of taking a tackle right at the beginning when this defensive class is so stacked up top. I mean, it's absolutely stacked at the top, and we can basically take any of those guys at 10, and we're almost guaranteed to hit with Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, Princely Umanmielen, Walter Nolan, James Pierce. I mean, there's several other guys right there, too. Mikael Williams. There's so many guys right there we could take, and that would be a hit and our run defense is so terrible. But if we take Kelvin Banks and then we hit some of these guys in the second round with lesser quality but good picks still, it's just going to be interesting to see what we do. I won't be upset if we take Kelvin Banks, but I do not think it's the right decision in this draft. But if the Bears are picking 20, 25, 30 next year in the draft because we had such a good season, it's going to be harder to get that tackle. But if we did that well, it probably means Braxton Jones took the next step, and we should probably extend him and pay him too. So, I don't know. All right, here's your little imaginary line, because after this draft is so full. This is not a heavy offensive tackle draft. You really got these top guys at the top, these four guys. And I don't consider Will Campbell really being in tackle. It's really these three guys here, Kelvin Banks, Josh Simmons, and Ariane Thierry. After that, down here, and you've got a bunch of guard options here is what you've got. Maybe Josh Connerly. I'm not completely sold on him for where he's. If he was a third rounder, I would absolutely take Josh Connerly, no problem. But after that, you've got down here, this is my little line that I created. These guys down here, these are your developmental tackles. And there's a lot of really good-sized tackles that don't have a base yet, that don't have the anchor is the better word for it. They don't have an anchor, or they don't have the slide ability with their feet. They don't have quickness with their feet. And when you watch them on tape, it's prevalent. Like, it's very noticeable. But I'm going to point out there's a lot of big-bodied developmental tackles in this draft. So you look at this, Holland Pierce, 6'8", 354. Jack Nelson, 6'7", 316. Anthony Belton, 6'6", 336. Brendan Crenshaw Dixon, 6'7", 322. Jalen Travis, 6'7", 340. I mean, there's so many big boys in this draft, and there is a lot. There's going to be someone on next year's video when we're doing this that turned out to be that Dominic Pooney, or what was the one that went to the Colts? Anyways, the Colts tackle they took in the 4th round, where he developed. One of these guys, 2 of these guys, 4 of these guys, 5 of these guys are going to be drafted, and they're going to impact their teams, because there are some guys that are going to put the work in, and they're going to be an immediate impact for their teams. And the reason I put Holland Pierce right here, I really love his size. I don't think he has enough technique with his height to stop some of the guys with their strong technique on defense getting to him. He allows more pressure than I would like, but he doesn't allow a ton of sacks. So his pass blocking grade is still off the chart. Very disciplined, no penalties ever. His run blocking, his pass blocking, super solid, but he's a prospect, and I'll get to him. He's going to be one of the 3 that I highlight here, but there is a lot of opportunity. I mean, well, a lot of these guys, when I watched on tape, Amari Knight, really, I like a lot of stuff about him too. Chase Lunt, smaller school. Well, you can't really consider UConn a smaller school. It kind of is, but not the high caliber competition some of these other guys have faced. Ruben Feathery, a lot of potential there, but just really, really raw, which is why he's projected as an undrafted free agent. Blake Miller from Clemson, really good opportunity. Emory Jones was really highly touted before this last year. Then he just had a terrible year, but with LSU, played really well the year before, so there's a lot of good tape on him, but he regressed this year. He's projected all the way at 51. I don't agree with that at all. I would not take Emory Jones before the 4th round with how this last year went, but there's a lot of physical characteristics with him that make you say, well, maybe someone can bring that out of him. If you're drafting him in the 4th, 5th round, that could be really high upside. So all these guys down here below this line, these are guys I would be interested in the Bears. If we go defensive line, interior offensive line, all those picks in the first, even especially if we get Ian Cunningham, Rooney Rule, if we get picked from 100 for a comp pick, if we get that and we take 5 offensive or defensive linemen in the top of the draft, or with 100, we take a running back. After that 5th round pick, we've got a 5th, a 6th, and 2 7th rounders. Okay, we got 4 picks that are meant to be developmental players that you try to process. I mean, you look at Trey Smith. He was a 6th rounder. That's what happens when good teams develop. We've really got to get the offensive line coach right. Now, as all these coaches interview, they're going to talk about, and this is one of the things the Bears are feeding off of right now as they go through these interviews, who would you hire to be your staff? I mean, they're drilling these guys. They're drilling them for information. What would you do in this in this scenario? Who would you bring in to be your offensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator, your line coach? The Bears have got to get the line coach right. We've got some young guys that need to take that next step, and with how many guys we're going to be bringing in, we have got to get that right. But for that 5th round, 6th round, 7th round pick, if we take a tackle in there to be able to develop one, say Holland Pierce is there at 5th round, I would be extremely ecstatic to have Holland Pierce in the 5th round. Same with Jack Nilsson. These are 2 guys that I'm watching carefully, and I want to see them. They're both going to be in the Shrine Bowl or the Senior Bowl, and I want to see how they play and perform as they go in there and go into the Combine, because it's going to be interesting to see both of these guys. They're 2 that I'll be keeping an eye on. All right, we're going to make me really, really small so we can get to some of the highlights on some of these guys. Number 1, Kelvin Banks. He's the one that I would be okay with us taking if we ended up taking someone at left tackle in the 1st round. I do not want Will Campbell whatsoever. You can, if we draft Will Campbell on draft night, you will see pure disappointment on my face. Here's from his strengths from Kelvin Banks Jr. This is from NFL Draft Buzz, and there is some good information on NFL Draft Buzz. Scouting report strengths: exceptional quickness out of his stance with smooth footwork in his 45-degree set, consistently maintaining proper inside foot positioning to stay square against the rushers. As you watch Kelvin Banks on tape, it is clear he knows how to play at the NFL level. Okay? He might not be the perfect prototypical size, but I have a really good gut feeling that he will be able to keep his base, his anchor, and he'll be able to move with guys. There's going to be rookie problems. He's probably not going to be up to the same level as Braxton right off the bat, because Braxton has 4 years in the league. There's something that comes with that experience. Braxton has played extremely well for a 5th rounder. He's done a great job for us. Kelvin Banks is more physically tooled, and he's got better technique if he can hone it to the NFL level as well. So next up, it says masterful technician in combination blocks using gallop techniques to deliver explosive pop on contact and seamless transition to the 2nd level. Demonstrates elite special talent awareness, or elite spatial awareness when working in space, showing patience and trust to connect on blocks out wide or climbing to linebackers. Employs sophisticated hand techniques, including an effective bait move and high-low carriage that consistently disrupt edge rushers' timing. Fluid athlete in space with impressive burst when pulling or leading on screens, delivering jarring impact on smaller defenders. Shows advanced understanding of leverage and angles and pass protection, particularly skilled at maintaining square position against various rush paths. Exceptional mental processing when dealing with stunts and defensive schemes, rarely caught out of position. Quick-footed mover who excels at gaining depth quickly in pass sets while maintaining balance through contact. Now we'll come over to the other side and we'll do his weaknesses and his scouting summary. He lacks ideal tackle height at 6'4" with below average arm length, creating unfavorable leverage against longer framed edge defenders in the NFL. This is the one big concern that's coming from college to the NFL. A lot of people say he could only be a guard. I think he can handle being a tackle, but I don't think it's going to be this Joe Alt type of situation a lot of Bear fans believe it is. Can struggle with foot speed in recovery situations, sometimes allowing defenders to gain an edge before he can reset. Occasional tendency to bend at the waist rather than the knees, leading to balance issues against savvy pass rushers. That is common for guys coming from college. This is what I'm talking about where Braxton has 4 years already. This is one of the biggest things they learn in the NFL, and as you get in an NFL weight room, man, we need new conditioning coaches as well. But I don't think this is a long-term problem for him. Hand placement and run blocking can be inconsistent, limiting his ability to sustain blocks against technically sound defenders. Moderate hip stiffness can hinder his ability to mirror quicker edge rushers, especially on counter move back inside. Sometimes overextends when reaching for defenders, leaving him vulnerable to push-pull techniques and inside counters, and he will see a lot of that at the NFL level. So in summary, Banks projects as a high-ceiling prospect who could excel at either tackle or guard with the versatility to be a day-one impact starter at either spot. His advanced pass set technique and fluid movement skills transition beautifully to tackle in systems and emphasize quick game concepts and RPOs, while his natural leverage and explosive power could make him an elite interior force. Though slightly shorter than ideal for tackle, his technical mastery and exceptional awareness more than compensate for length limitations. That's exactly what I was just saying. His processing speed and technical foundation project particularly well to zone-based systems where his fluid movement skills and expertise in combination blocks can be maximized, while he's shown clear starter ability at tackle. His unique skill set could reach even greater heights at guard, where his natural leverage and explosive power could make him one of the league's premier interior linemen. His quick mental processing and natural feel for angles should allow him to dominate at either position. Banks has the tools to develop into a Pro Bowl caliber player at either spot, with his ceiling potentially even higher at guard. His floor appears to be that of a quality starting tackle with all pro potential if kicked inside. So if we do take him at 10, again, I'm not upset. I just think it's a waste of a huge opportunity with this year's defensive line. Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, James Pierce, Princely Umanmielen, and there's many, many more. So many of them. And yes, we might be able to get a Jack Sawyer in the second round. We might be able to get some of these other guys in the second round as well. But when you have an opportunity to take a Abdul Carter or a Princely Umanmielen, it's frustrating to pass up on that. But there is a full breakdown. Is there one right or wrong with this fan base? No. If you're on team Kelvin Banks, I get it. I don't agree with it, but that's part of the fun of having this channel, having different perspectives. Not everyone's going to agree. I'm very passionate. I adamantly don't want this to happen, but if it does, I do see a clear path where we move him into guard, and I think he would work very, very well with Braxton. I think the two of them would help each other out more. That's just a reach to take that at 10. It is, but I'm okay with it. All right, if we do go later, this is the guy I was talking about, Holland Pierce. He's the tackle for Rutgers, and man, he is a absolute beast of a human being. 6'8", 354 pounds, and he's able to move. His footwork is not completely sound yet, but this last year in 2024, it improved significantly. He looks very different in 24 than from 23. And if you go watch the tape on him, you're going to be impressed with the prospect he's becoming. But he is developmental. He is someone that is going to take some time. He's not going to be your day one starter. And maybe he's working his butt off right now and he's going to prove us wrong. And he's going to be that guy like Darius Robinson last year. I highlighted Darius Robinson. He was that 4th, 5th round prospect. Man, he got to the combine. He showed off and he shot up the boards, and Arizona took him in the end of the first round. Holland Pierce, with that gap I showed you guys between here, really? I mean, this Josh Connerly at 32, all the way down into the 50, 90s, whatever. That could be a gap where one of these guys at the combine really shoot up and someone takes that tackle. And Holland Pierce could be that guy that ends up going in the 2nd, 3rd round. And honestly, if the Bears end up using their 3rd rounder on someone like Holland Pierce, I think it's a better prospect than last year's Kiran Amagachi. Kiran Amagachi looked really good at Yale. But the problem there was the same thing I'm talking about these guys with Charles Grant and Gray Zabel, is the lower level of competition. He did not face that intense competition, and he was coming off injury. So you're dealing with multiple things, and he's got to get up to speed. So that's why Kiran Amagachi is a developmental tackle. Well, for other reasons, Holland Pierce is just now coming into his own after his 4th year at Rutgers. And will he continue to develop? We'll see. There's a lot of upside about him. Look at his grades from this last year. You can see the improvement there. Significant improvement. Only 1 penalty this last year. The pressures that came were typically hurries, and it's a lot to do with his footwork. And I think those are things that he can get with the right coach. So over here on his scouting report strengths, and I know this is small, so I'm going to read them. And those who like to listen to this on their car ride, they've said, this is for you guys. If you guys don't love all this stuff, skip past this part. I'm not offended by you one bit. He's a road grader frame with plus length, creates massive surface area in pass pro, establishing a wide arc for edge rushers to navigate. Now, I don't know the official on his arm length, but it sounds like it's 36-inch plus. 37, 38-inch arms. That is a massive human being. He's already 6'8", 354 pounds. If his arms are that freaking long, this dude, I mean, you get him some technique, and he could be an absolute monster. So you guys have been watching my mock drafts. I've intentionally left Holland Pierce out of my mock drafts until I made the tackle video so I could include him later so that you guys would be able to have this video for me to display Holland Pierce. This to me is like displaying last year Darius Robinson. I will try to do some things. Now, those who have been watching this channel for the full year, I tried to do some highlight videos, but the NCAA and Big Ten and SEC Network and those guys make it really hard to share some highlight videos. So I get flagged a lot. I don't want to lose the channel. But I will do my best to try to highlight some of these guys. Holland Pierce, when he's playing like a 6'8", 354 guy with long arms, I don't know how anybody in the NFL is going to compete against him. I don't know how anyone. Myles Garrett, can't even think of the Dallas. Micah Parsons, anybody. I don't know how they can compete against Holland Pierce if he gets refined, if he gets his footwork down, if he gets crouched low enough, he gets that bend, and he gets in the squats and he gets in the weight room. I don't know how they're going to compete against him. I really don't. Devastating power at point of attack on double teams consistently creates vertical displacement and caves defensive fronts. Heavy hands and pass protection pack serious punch. Routinely stuns defenders and nullifies bull rush when landing initial strike. Plus awareness reading defensive fronts. Consistently IDs and passes off stunts, twists with guards. Showing advanced pattern recognition. Holy crap, how much have we needed that with the Bears this last year? So many of those sacks that I can highlight are because they don't communicate and they don't ID those things. This is huge for the Bears. Generates serious torque on down blocks, creates massive angles, and walls off backside pursuit effectively. Anchor strength absorbs power rushers. Rarely gives ground once set up in pass pro despite aggressive bull rushes. Mauler mentality and run game. Consistently finishes blocks through the whistle and plants defenders. For 354 pounds, this boy can move. It shows his 40 time is 5.42. I'm excited to see at the Combine what it is, and he's going to be in the Shrine Bowl as well. I really want to see what he does at the Combine. Ironman durability with consecutive start streaks showing consistently available through contact. All right, so you guys are seeing this is one of my hidden gems. I've always got them every year. This is one of my favorite ones this year for hidden gems. You're really going to like it when I get to show some tape. But here is his weaknesses. Labored kick side reveals limited twitch, causing consistent issues reaching landmark against speed rushers off the edge. So that's the kick out. That's what I'm talking about with his footwork and not being experienced enough. He's got a 4-year starter, but he doesn't have the technique to be able to handle NFL yet, which is why he would be a great swing tackle and developmental guy. Heavy-footed redirections and clunky recovery steps, that's going to come with these big guys, leave him vulnerable against counters and inside moves. But he does identify him well, so they've kind of hit both areas there. Raw technique and pass sets lead to overextension, gets caught lunging, and loses leverage battles. Inconsistent hand placement in the run game. Allows defenders to work half-man relationships despite size advantage. Lacks ideal lateral range to execute reach block consistently, particularly working backside in zone schemes. And there's going to be negatives with everybody, but I really do like this kid. All right, so his summary. The massive frame and raw power profile suggest immediate utility as a swing tackle with developmental upside. Natural anchor strength and length provides tools to contribute in pass protection, while the Mauler mentality translates well to gap power run schemes. However, athletic limitations and technical refinement needs indicate a longer runway to starting caliber play, which is why I would love him if we get an extra third rounder, great, reach for him. If he's there in the 5th, snag him in a heartbeat. Scheme-specific deployment will be crucial early, as zone-heavy systems will expose lateral mobility constraints. Best early fit comes in gap power run schemes where double team effectiveness and down blocking power can be maximized while pass protection technique develops. Pure speed rushers and complex pressure packages present significant challenges that must be addressed through technical development. Core special teams contributor and developmental depth piece who requires patient coaching to maximize his tools. Natural power and length provide foundation for growth, but mechanical inconsistencies and athletic limitations create clear ceiling. Ideal fit comes with power running team featuring veteran offensive line room and established developmental track record. All right, enough about Holland Pierce. I really obviously like Holland Pierce. The last one I'm going to show is another developmental guy. This is Jack Nilsson out of Wisconsin, and he's been a 4-year starter, and he's been very good all 4 years. And he's being a little bit undervalued, I think. You can see there his run blocking isn't quite as clear and techniqued as they would like, but I think he's played very well. He's only had 8 pressures this last year and 393 pass block opportunities. Few extra penalties last year, but better this year. Really refined his game to have a good grade overall. We'll go through him a little bit quicker. Scouting report strengths, plus positional flexibility with experience in both tackle and guard spots, offering valuable scheme versatility for NFL fronts. Look here, he's 6'7", 316 pounds, and he runs a 5.140. I mean, this guy could play tackle or guard, but he's got the size. He's going to be just fine. Exhibits a strong anchor in pass pro, consistently stonewalling power rushers, maintaining a clean pocket, nasty finisher in the run game, routinely driving defenders off the ball and creating lanes for ball carriers. Possesses the frame and length to excel at the edge, with the wingspan to neutralize speed rushers effectively. Showcases good football IQ, picking up stunts and blitzes with ease and adjusting well to defensive fronts. Demonstrates above-average lateral agility for his size, excelling in zone blocking schemes and reach blocks. High character prospect with strong work ethic. Ironman durability, starting 38 games over 3 seasons against top-tier Big Ten competition, and he started all the games this year as well. That was only referring to 2021, 22, and 23, but he started every game this year as well in 2024. As we look at his weaknesses and his overall report, we'll move me over to this side. Boom. His weaknesses: lacks elite foot quickness, and that's what most of these guys that are developmental. His technique and foot quicknesses and just getting down the NFL level type of stuff, potentially limiting his role to mirror top-tier NFL edge rushers consistently. Hand placement can be erratic, often leaving his chest exposed and vulnerable to bull rushes and long arm techniques. That's more worrisome to me than the other stuff. Tends to play with a narrow base at times, affecting his balance and ability to sustain blocks through the whistle. Can struggle to recover when beaten initially, needing to improve his ability to re-anchor mid-rep. This is what you call a developmental tackle with the right size. May lack the ideal twitch to consistently handle speed to power conversions from elite pass rushers at the next level. So his summary: Nelson provides a high floor prospect with multi-scheme potential. His experience at tackle and guard positions adds value for teams seeking offensive line depth. Nelson's anchoring ability is in pass protection, and Mauler mentality in the run game indicates starter potential, particularly if moved to inside to guard. Foot speed limitations may challenge Nelson against elite NFL edge defenders. His optimal NFL fit likely lies at right tackle in a zone-heavy system or at guard, maximizing his strength and road grading ability. Nelson's durability and consistent performance against top Big Ten competition will attract NFL evaluators. Transitioning to the NFL, Nelson must refine his hand technique and improve block sustainability. His experience in both power and spread offenses at Wisconsin should ease scheme adaptation. Nelson's size, intelligence, and positional flexibility make him a valuable developmental prospect with potential to outperform his draft position in the right system. All right, so I've given you guys my approach to tackles now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Kelvin Banks, if we took him at 10, I'm okay with it. I really am. I'm okay with it, especially since he's right on the fringe. He's at any other draft, I think he would be right around 10 to 15 in the draft. In this draft, 10 is probably the right spot for him. If we took Josh Simmons, I wouldn't be nearly as excited. I still like the prospect of Josh Simmons, but he's not quite Kelvin Banks. Ariante Ursary for value, if we got him in the second round, would be good. But these guys are really the path I'd like to go. I'd love to go defensive tackle, defensive end, then hit your guards and your center in the second round, then hit some other interior or defensive lines players. And then if we need to pick up a swing tackle or a developmental tackle, hit Holland Pierce, Jack Nelson. They're projected right now to go 217 or 161, 5th, 6th, 7th round. I think both these guys will show out and be 4th, 5th rounders, maybe even 3rd rounders for Holland Pierce with his size. That is a unique size, 6'8", 354. He's going to attract some attention. So he could go in the 3rd round. If we get an Ian Cunningham pick and we take him at 100, I'm great with it. Even if we took him at 72, think about last year at 75, we took Karan Amagaji. Taking Holland Pierce at 72, I would be very happy with, so I'm good with that. The other part that I'm a big fan of is if we took Trent Brown. If we took him with that experienced NFL level and then took Holland Pierce, someone to guide him, engage him into the league, Trent Brown is that same size who could help guide him. 6'8", 370 pounds. That's what Trent Brown is. There's no one better to be able to help Holland Pierce in the league than Trent Brown would be able to do that, who's played at a very high level. So I like the prospect of that as well. Karan Amagaji, maybe we move him into guard. Maybe we have, Braxton Jones eventually move into guard. I'm not as big a fan. That's thrown out there a lot. I'm not a big fan. I really like Braxton at left tackle, but I agree at the same time, I don't think he's the permanent solution either. So there's a lot of things that can happen in this draft at the tackle position. I'm not going to be arrogant enough to say that I know what's going to happen. I just have a very strong, opinionated opinion about what I think the Bears should do with this draft. And one of these developmental guys, while we have Braxton on a rookie contract, is my way to do that. Taking Trent Brown and taking Holland Pierce would be a slam dunk to me. One thing's for sure, there's a lot of decisions to be made. Once the coach is set, there's still more decisions to be made for this team. There's going to be a lot moving forward. So I do appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate you being a part of the channel. I'm going to look into getting membership started soon, especially as the draft rolls around. I feel like I have some quality content, and I do need to try to make this more of a consistent thing so I can try to make this a full-time thing. But I do want to say we just passed 9,000 subscriptions, and I don't take that lightly. I appreciate every freaking one of you. I mean that. So thank you for being a part of the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for those who interact. And remember, as you interact with me in the comments, remember that I'm an opinionated person, but I have nothing against any of you. I'm not attacking anyone. I'm not coming after anyone. I've got my opinion. It doesn't make it always right. Now, if we go back and look at last draft, there's a lot of things I got right in the last draft. I toot my own horn, float my own boat, blowing my own whistle here. I nailed some things in last year's draft and a lot of analysis on different players as well. Going all the way back to Yannick Ngakoue, one of my first things I talked about, some of the players we should keep, some that we shouldn't keep, where our strengths and weaknesses are. I look forward to bringing that stuff to you guys again, and it starts with some of these videos. So please let me know if you enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, please share it with your friends. Let them know about it. That's one of the best ways for the channel to be spread and to grow. And hit that like button. It helps with the algorithm thingy. And subscribe. Turn on the notifications. Till next time, da Bears. Thanks for tuning in. Bear down.